Something happened the other day that's been sticking in my head, and I just kind of felt the need to talk about it. I was at one of those farm parks with my youngest kid recently. It's a working farm where they have, areas where you can feed the animals and go on nature walks, and it's common for school groups to come in for visits. And this was the case while we were there. And this school group was behaving fine. They were walking around, they were enthusiastic, they were learning stuff from the farmers. They weren't really making any more noise than you would expect them to, and you're literally outside at a farm, so go ahead, have fun, kids. I would say as far as school groups go, they were behaving better than most of the ones I'd ever seen. And at lunchtime, we happened to be in the same area where they had all sat down to eat, and the teacher just began berating the students. In Britain, they have all these health and safety standards. I mean, we have some of those back home in America, but it's interesting comparing them. And I have found that the term health and safety is often just used in Britain to kill fun, and it doesn't actually serve a health or safety purpose. One of the rules is the kids have to be sitting while they're eating. And it would be fine with me if they just said, look, this is just for crowd control purposes. We've only got so many adults and we need to keep track of everyone. They say it's to avoid choking, but kids are way more likely to choke if you let them talk while eating. So again, it's where just like you have all these weird rules that don't always make sense, especially to kids. And of course, in such an exciting environment, some of them were standing up so that they could turn around and talk to each other because for some reason they hadn't let the kids sit at the picnic tables that were right there. They were having them sit on hay bales in long lines so they couldn't see each other while they were trying to talk. So the teacher had engineered a situation where kids were likely to pop up so they could hear what their friends were saying. And he just starts screaming at them. I mean, he looked to me like a villain from a Roald Dahl book. I told you to sit down and I shouldn't have to tell you again. I mean, like, we were standing right there. I could see him. I'm pretty sure everyone in the farm park could hear him. And he clearly either had no idea how he sounded or he knew and he just didn't care. Now, you can get genuine bullies in teaching, the kind of people who work with kids because they would never be allowed to treat adults like that. And it's easier to pick on people who are smaller and less powerful than you. But these people are pretty rare. More often, teachers do bad things because they're burned out, they're exhausted, they're underpaid, they have to do too much, they're asked to do stuff far beyond what their job description was, they have to bring work home. So the burnout is real, the stress is real, and I am sympathetic to that. But what I am not sympathetic to is if that burnout gets so overwhelming that you start to take it out on the kids. Because at the end of the day, you're the grown-up, you're the teacher. And so when I was watching this guy just scream at them, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to have a hugely negative effect on their education. And this is where this comes into affecting things like literature or literally any other subject that children might study, because you can't have a good connection with a teacher like that. As soon as he was done screaming at them for occasionally standing up, which excited children will do, the whole class went completely silent and they were just like nervous and, taking small bites of their lunches and kind of giving the side eye. And then the teacher started berating them again. He says, I didn't tell you you had to be quiet. You can sit and talk. Come on, sit and talk. And it's like, dude, you've ruined this whole field trip. Like, you have ruined this field trip. If this guy wasn't a bully, my thought was, this guy's clearly at his limit. He's stressed out, he's overwhelmed, he's burned out. And either he doesn't recognize that, and maybe one of his colleagues needs to be like, hey, dude, you okay? Or how's your burnout level? Or like he needs to go home and be like, if this is the level of burnout that I'm at, that I am literally screaming at children and ruining their nice time and undermining their ability to learn anything from me because they're going to fear me rather than trust me, maybe you need to either do what it takes to not be so burned out, or it's time to pick another job. I don't think that children should have to bear the brunt of adult burnout. We all do it from time to time. We have bad moments, we lose our tempers, and then hopefully we have enough maturity to apologize to the kids, to model that good behavior to them, and then try not to do it again. But yeah, I don't know, this was just really sticking in my head, and I felt so bad for those kids. And I thought, I wouldn't want any one of those kids to stop loving a subject in school or just have a bad time reading a book or learning a new scientific concept because this teacher's so burned out, or, outside chance, a bully, that the classroom environment is negative. So if you're one of these teachers, if you're feeling burned out and you're finding that you are unable to control your temper, please strongly consider doing what it takes so that children don't end up with a bad educational environment. That's all I've got to say about that today. Please let me know what you think about that. Both, like when you were in school, did you have a teacher who screamed at you a lot? And how did that affect your ability to enjoy a subject? Or if you're a teacher now, how do you cope with the burnout? Because it is real. You have to put up with so much and it is real. So either how do you cope with it, or are you getting out, or did you get out? And how did it go for you now that you're out? I'd love to hear from all of you because this is such a real problem and I don't feel like enough is being done to address it.